We're going to read a passage that is a little weird passage. A lot of people tend to skip over it, especially whenever it comes to teaching it. But I'm a big believer of 2 Timothy 3:16, where it says that all Scripture is given by inspiration of God and profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, instruction, and righteousness. So even weird passages like the one we're getting ready to read has a purpose. And I really feel like this passage has a purpose about being careful of the people we look up to and the people we copy and the people that we choose to hang around. Genesis chapter 19, you guys want to go ahead and turn to there? I'm going to go ahead and read it just because it is kind of a weird passage. I don't want the person reading to get all kind of like, whoa, what's that about? But go ahead and turn there, and when you get there, help your neighbor find it.
You said Genesis
chapter 19. This is the very front of the book. 19 chapters into it, so should be fairly easy to find.
Page 12.
Huh?
Page 12.
Page 12 if you have the same Bible as him. All right, so we're going to start in verse 30. Now, in order to understand what is happening in this passage, you kind of have to go back a little bit beforehand, but I'll give you the backstory after we read it. All right? So, it says, after Lot left Zorah, because he was afraid of the people there, he went to live in a cave in the mountains with his 2 daughters. One day, the older daughter said to her sister, "There are no men left anywhere in this entire area, so we can't get married like everyone else. And our father will soon be too old to have children. Come, let us get him drunk with wine, and then we will have sex with him. That way, we will preserve our family line. Though through our father." So that night they got him drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father, and he, unwillingly, unaware of her lying down and getting up again. The next morning the older daughter said to her younger sister, "I had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again tonight, and you go have sex with him, and that way we will preserve our family line through our father." So that night they got him drunk with wine again. The younger daughter went in and had intercourse with him, and before he was aware of her lying down or getting up again. So the results, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. What the heck is kind of the story of that? Oh, that's like, what the heck? What's going on in that kind of? That's like weird, isn't it? Did anybody know that was in the Bible? That's some messed up stuff, isn't it? That's just enough to make you like, yeah, I think I'm done for a little while, right? That's some weird stuff going on there. But like I said in 2 Timothy, there says everything in here is profitable for teaching. So there's something that we need to learn from the actions of the girls in this story. Now, to understand all of this, Lot was living in a town called Sodom, and God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for all of their sin and all of the actions and things that were going on in there. But before He destroyed it, He sent in 2 angels, and Lot and the 2 angels told Lot and his daughters to leave town because he was getting ready to destroy him, because he saw that Lot was a godly man. Now, there's a lot more to that story. If you want to go back and look at it, you can. But that's basically what happened. So they traveled around a bit. The wife died because she disobeyed, and she turned into a pillar of salt. It's kind of an interesting story. But they actually found, and the archaeologists actually found what they believed to be Sodom and Gomorrah, this a town. It looks like man-made structures that have been totally destroyed. They found sulfur rock pitted all through there. That is really cool, and it's a really neat story, and really neat how archaeologists have found and proven that story to be true. So that's just a side note. But so So they were in Sodom and Gomorrah, a town that was destroyed because of their sin, because of all of the immoral and bad things that were going on in this town. And they moved around a little bit, and that's how we got to this story. This story kind of illustrates the effect of living around sin. Not necessarily doing the sin, because like we see that Lot was found to be innocent. He was found to be a good man, a godly man, and he was allowed to leave. So Lot and his daughters were still virgins and still holding themselves pure for marriage and stuff, and that we see in other scriptures. So they weren't even partaking in it. They were just kind of living around it. So this story tells us to kind of influence living around sinful people can have on our lives, and living around the wrong types of people who are doing different things, the kind of influence that they can have on us. It was Lot was able to take his daughters out of Gomorrah, out of Sodom, so that tells us that they were living fair, that they were living right. We thought the thoughts and the actions of these two ladies they're shocking, and to say the least, right? I mean, they're pretty shocking to hear and read that they would even think about it, let alone do it. But it is a great reminder to be careful of who we are copying, who we are hanging around, who we are allowing to influence us in our lives. As we live in a culture that is just kind of crazy with all these different things. Everybody you talk to, everybody has their own opinions on things. Everybody has different ways to do things, and we live in this culture where we live in a copy culture. If we want to know how to do anything, instead of trying to figure it out ourselves, what's the first thing? If you want to know how to do something, what do?
YouTube.
You YouTube what? What do you say? You ask somebody, you YouTube it, you Google it, you pull it up, you're like, hey, one of the first things you do, you pop up Google, like, hey Google, or hey Alexa, or YouTube, and instead of, what? Hey Siri, you first thing you do is you start to look and see how did other people handle it, right? How does other people do those things? We live in that copy culture. We are copying a culture and we don't realize it. We're copying some crazy things out there. Lot's daughters, they copied some crazy things because they knew, their culture was they had to do this and they had to do that and they had to get married and they had to have kids and all these different things. And if it wasn't possible one way, then you had to go another way. And they turned their back on what they knew was right, and they did what culture told them to do. My son watches some of the weirdest videos. He was telling me about this video where this guy was allowing himself to get shot in the private parts with an airsoft gun.
What in the world?
Why would anybody want to do that, okay? Why would anybody want to do that? You want to know why he did it? Because he wanted the views. He wanted people to watch him. He wanted people to watch his videos and like his videos. He wanted to get more people to watch his videos. We live in that culture where, and listen, and it didn't start with him. It didn't start with him. There was a show a long time ago, I'm not going to mention the name, there was a bunch of group of guys going around doing a bunch of stupid things, hitting each other in the private, jumping off of the roof, shooting people out of cannon, and they're still, we live in this culture where we do whatever we have to do to get people to watch us, don't we? We live in this culture like I have to act this way or behave a certain way so that people will like me and so that people will watch my video. And it goes all the way back. There's the town that we grew up in Missouri. There was this bar that had this that decided they needed more people to come in to their establishment. So they held this big thing, and it was called "What Would You Do for a Sea-Doo?" Okay. And a bunch of people did a bunch of dumb things. One guy went and got a tattoo. I'm not going to tell you where. But he went and got a tattoo that said, this is what I did for a CU. But you know the funniest thing was? He didn't even win. We do so many things. We do so many things. Oh man, that guy, he's gaining views, or they've got a lot of friends. So we start to copy those people all the way to the point where we start to hurt ourselves, and we kind of lose who we truly are, right? We start to copy all of this crazy in life. We need more people to be leaders and less people following influencers. We need more people to stand up and be a leader and less people trying to influence people, or less people following people. Guys, the stuff that we look on our Snapchat and all of those, on TikTok, all of those things, they're photoshopped, they're cropped. You see the really fun stuff. You see the really beautiful pictures. But you don't see the 5 minutes before or the 5 minutes after. Some of my favorite things to watch is whenever they're doing these videos and they show how they got these beautiful pictures, and they're like jumping up there to take a beautiful picture above all this water. But you see the person after they jump up and this wave smacks them and knocks them down, and they're all like destroyed. And it's the funniest thing ever. But the picture's beautiful, isn't it? But in the picture, you don't see the 5 minutes after, the couple of minutes after where they get destroyed by the wave. That's what we do. We copy those 5 minutes. Or we copy those 30 seconds. We copy that 60 seconds for that picture. And we look at that person and go, my life's not as cool as theirs. I'm not doing those kind of things. But we don't realize those people are just as messed up as the rest of us. Some of them, they'll come out and be like, I've got depression, or I've got this, I don't even know how it's all this. We look at them and they're just as messed up. They're putting it on a picture, putting it on a face, and we're trying to copy that person who doesn't even want to be who they are. They're making that person up as well. Michael Jackson. Anybody know who Michael Jackson is? The king of pop, right? One of the greatest music artists in history. People copy him to this day. He's been gone. He's still making money for his families after his passing. People are copying him all the time. There's a Christian artist, Corin Wells, who's been called the Michael Jackson of Christian music. People are always copying Michael Jackson. They want to be like him. They're like, oh man, he's so cool. But Michael Jackson, he was unhappy. He was paranoid. He was suffering from depression. He had so many problems. Yet people are trying to copy this person with all of these problems. Robin Williams was called at one point was considered one of the funniest men in television and movies. He could make anybody laugh at the drop of a hat. But he suffered from depression all the way up to the point where he ended his own life. This man who made everybody laugh couldn't even make himself smile. But we're trying to copy him. We look at him and like, oh man, I can never have a life as great as him. Anybody ever watch superhero movies? You guys know what the MCU is? If I say the MCU, do you know what that is? The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, one of my favorite scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is this one right here. Will you play that video, Stephanie?
Everywhere I go, I see his face, and the whole world is asking who's going to be the next Iron Man. I don't know if that's me happy. I'm not Iron Man.
You're not Iron Man. You're never going to be Iron Man. Nobody could live up to Tony. Not even Tony. Tony was my best friend. And he was a mess. He second-guessed everything he did. He was all over the place.
The world is a mess. It changed. It is a mess. What it says is right today is not right yesterday.